right, guys. Let's hold on a second. Bitcoin to hard money on Solana. Hard money on Solana. Okay. You guys. I just wanted to put a little video out about this idea called Bitcoin 2. And it's an idea that just came up really just 48 hours ago. We were talking with Peter K. And, Peter was in, we were talking about meme coins online. And Peter came up and said, well, is it a meme coin if it's, if it's hard money, right? Can you make something hard money out of something that's on a chain like Solana? And so we sort of batted the idea around, and we sort of came up with the answer is it actually could be. We actually could create something like Bitcoin, really with the same general philosophy that Satoshi brought to create Bitcoin. So let's just talk about how this thing could happen and potentially why we would do it. So it's an experiment, right? So it's not obviously going to replace Bitcoin or anything, but the idea would be to take start with Solana, which has fast, great wallets, great dexes, all this stuff, and you'd have a smart contract, or they call it a program there, that basically emits coins on a schedule absolutely identical to Bitcoin. So, in the very first block of Bitcoin was the 50 Bitcoin block, and they were like that for the first 210,000 blocks, and then after every 210,000 blocks, you get the halving, right? Now, in the case of Bitcoin, you don't have an actual clock, so you have this sort of difficulty adjustment. We wouldn't need that because we actually have a clock, so we can just sort of schedule these block emissions every 10 minutes on Solana. And then the question is, how is the block mined, right? And, so the first idea I was like, well, we could put the block rewards in a liquidity pool, and then people could kind of come and snipe it, right? And if you're really good at sniping, you get the block, right? So, yeah. And that's, in a way, it's kind of a mining thing, right? Because you have to get better and better at sniping, just like you have to get better and better at, trying to find the nonce on Bitcoin. And then Peter was like, well, it's not really ideal. The sniping thing is not ideal. And I came up with this idea of, what if we just auctioned off the blocks? And, thinking about that. And then Peter said, well, we could do a Dutch auction, where you basically have you start at, say, the price of Bitcoin, and you sort of go down every 5 seconds or something. And then once you go down, you'll eventually get to a point where the auction clears, and then the person who bought the auction with Sol is going to get the Bitcoin 2, and then the smart contract gets the Sol. So that was sort of the prototype idea, I guess, a day ago. And then I thought, oh, what are we going to do with the Sol? We just burn it? We just send it to the Sol incinerator? Well, that doesn't seem to be an ideal solution, because, why? And that's a little bit like Zen, right? So Jack Levin's Zen. It's just kind of you burn something in order to produce another thing, right? And this is, from a utility use point of view, this has been an enormous thing. So Zen was very, very successful in terms of, a lot of people have used Zen on Ethereum, on all these different chains. This coin was launched, but the chart of it looks terrible. It's just steadily decreasing, right? So nobody wants that kind of chart. That's not really kind of a hard money chart at all. That's just sort of like, you can get more of the thing. It's sort of infinite in supply, and you have all these all these complications. So that's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about fixed 21 million coins. There's a fixed way of emitting them, and then there's a fixed way of getting them. So the idea was, okay, we'll take this these coins that are the result of the auction, right? And now those will be used to buy back coins from liquidity pool on Radium. So if we do that, then the first liquidity pool can just start with, say, 1 Solana, right? So you just have 1 Solana, and then whatever people start selling from the first block, that's the first liquidity pool, and then after that, as we emit, as we get more Solana, the next block, the next liquidity pool, we buy back. So that'll be a little bit of a buy pressure on whatever people sell. So anyways, it could work, right? And so Peter's actually starting to code this, and he's coding a slightly different version. So where he's coding where the entire emission schedule happens over a year. I have no problem with that. I mean, this is just an experiment. It's fun. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I encourage this. I think it'll be a fun experiment. It'll be a little bit like Pumped Up Fun. It'll be, it's a zero-sum game, right? So some people will come in with Solana, they'll buy it, they'll get out, whatever. But nobody has any advantage. It's completely a fair game. Nobody has any insider tokens. I don't have any Bitcoin 2. You don't have any Bitcoin 2. The people who write the smart contract are not getting any Bitcoin 2 for doing that. And it may work, it may not. It's sort of like Bitcoin. When it first came out, not clear that it was going to work. And I think if you look at the initial emails between Satoshi and Marty Malmi, it really didn't, it was not clear in 2009 that this thing was going to work. So yeah, it may not be a good idea, right? But it's not necessarily a bad idea. What's that? So I think that, we're going to try this out. We'll see. Nobody's forcing anybody to mine anything, right? I'd be very interested in seeing what these blocks go for. So what does a 50 block go for? I don't know. And everybody's like, you have to take Bitcoin Maxi out of your bio. Why? Why do I have to take Bitcoin Maxi out of my bio? I own all my Bitcoin. I've never sold any Bitcoin. I've owned it for years. No, I'm a Bitcoin Maxi, but I'm open to any of these new tokens now, and I'm just being very pragmatic. I think that's we're going into a multi-token world, and if you don't think so, I think you're just factually incorrect. I think factually we're going to have a stablecoin bill way before we ever get a Bitcoin reserve bill, I think we're drafting the big Solana book. Probably a good idea. I don't know. I'm not a book writer. I wrote the big Bitcoin book because I love Bitcoin, and I still love Bitcoin. So you can call me a traitor to Bitcoin, but I'm not. I'm absolutely a Bitcoin lover. So I think this thing could be really interesting. I don't think it's going to take more than a month to code up. I'm not sure what the final version of it is. I mean, there's the only part that's sort of tricky is this auction part, right? There's sort of two ways of potentially doing the auction. You can either do a Dutch auction where you have this sending, or you can do kind of what they call a sealed bid auction, right? Where you basically put a bid, you put a hash, right? You say I'm going to do this bid. Here's my hash of what my bid will be. And then you reveal the bid afterwards, right? Now, the question is, what's to prevent sort of Sybil attacks and people just submitting hundreds of thousands of bids and then just taking the one that they like? Well, maybe there's a cost of making a bid. Maybe you have to, I don't know. So the Dutch auction doesn't have some of those problems. So the actual implementation of the auction is still a technical difficulty that we would have to figure out. I don't think it's insurmountable, but I'm just leaving this thing at the white paper stage, and various coders can come in and offer solutions, or maybe they don't. But it's interesting. A lot of people have reached out to me and said this is something that either they have an idea for, or they've implemented something like it. So an example, I'll just mention one of them I haven't really looked into at all. It's called OR. And I think this OR thing, sort of like Zen, I think it had, it caused things to crash or something. So I don't know much about it. So if you know much about OR, let me know. I don't know. Another one is, Vinny Lingham reached out to me yesterday, and he's like, I had a very similar idea to Bitcoin too. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So Vinny's longtime member of the Bitcoin community for a decade. So I think it's interesting. I think you guys can poo-poo it all you want. It doesn't matter to me. I think the sort of Solana ecosystem is going to do great. I love it. Angry Mike's nobody's ever thought of creating a second Bitcoin. Of course they have. And you know what, Mike, is all I can say is be angry. You are angry. I get it. But listen, just be comfortable with your Bitcoin bags. I'm comfortable with my Bitcoin bags. There's different kinds of people out there. My view is the way this is going to go down may not be the way you think this is going to go down, right? So I definitely think that when you're using Solana and you're using it, if you really give it a serious look, you're going to realize that this is the way that tokens are going to go down in the future. It's not going to be with like Lightning. That just it's not going to work, basically. So yeah. So look, I hope Bitcoin 2 happens. If it does happen, I will definitely try to get some blocks. I have no idea what a block might go for. ChatGPT thinks it could go for between 1 and 5 Solana, not per block, per Bitcoin, they think. Bitcoin 2. And Grok seems to think 8 Solana per Bitcoin. So they're coming up with these things like $1,000 per Bitcoin 2. I have no idea if that's going to be the case. I definitely think if I could get one of these Bitcoin 2s, in the like $10 range or something, I think it'd be fantastic. I'm into it. I'm into the game. I'll try to buy some. The reason I think it could be good is look at coins like Caspa, right? Caspa's a little bit of the same idea. So Caspa has, I don't know, 28 million coins or something, but it's just not as clean as this. It's not launched well in advance. It has all these team allocations as Caspa ambassadors or something. This doesn't feel to me like Bitcoin. But yet Caspa has a $2 billion market cap, right? So a lot of these things can get to really big market caps. So I think if we can get this thing launched, and if it's not too expensive, it could be really good buy, right? Just like Bitcoin was back in the day. So I think it's an opportunity potentially. If the thing starts trading at $1,000 per Bitcoin 2, I'll just I'll be an observer and I won't buy any. That's kind of my thing. But yeah, listen, there's a meme coin out there too, so fine. Meme coins are different than the. I can make a meme coin called Bitcoin. It's not the same thing as Bitcoin. So, uh, so yeah. So and look, this will be open source. Anybody can copy it. Anybody can make versions of it. And part of me just likes the idea of more experimentation. I like the idea that there's this sort of petri dish of innovation now happening. And I really like Solana, so I think I'm really encouraged by any kind of experimentation on Solana. I have something completely different on Solana that's coming out in a few weeks that I think you guys are going to love. What? Anyways, so that's that's the story on Bitcoin too, guys. And am I doing it to make money? Partially, I'm just doing it as an experiment. I could care less, Um, I've made tens of millions of dollars last year on Bitcoin, tens of millions. So, I don't need the money. But I do think that the pure maxi religion is counterproductive here. I really do. I think it's counterproductive, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's like somebody saying the internet's bad because there's all this trash on the internet, and you can say whatever you want. Tokens aren't going away. In fact, there's more and more of them. And this administration is not a Bitcoin administration. It's a crypto administration. The president has a meme coin. So that's it. All right, that's my little monologue for today. I'll catch you guys online. I'll talk to you guys later.